for today's video, we're going to talk about design thinking. So students find learning mathematics most engaging when they are involved in a thinking process that results in an output that can be applied to a relevant context. So the design thinking process engages the students in such a thought-provoking and purposeful activity. So when we talk about design thinking, it is a progressive teaching strategy that allows students to look for real-world problems and finding creative solutions. Students do this by focusing on the need of others, collaborating for possible solutions, and prototyping and testing their creations. So we have here 5 stages of design thinking. First is to empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. These stages are adapted from Institute of Design at Stanford University. Let's talk about empathize. So when we talk about empathize, understand the audience and have compassion for whom you are designing. The goal of design thinking is for students to respond to particular need, especially the real-world problem. So it is fitting that the first stage is empathy. In this stage, the teacher needs to be explicit in guiding the students to put themselves in the shoes of others through activities like immersive observation and interviews. According to the developmental stages, it is not natural for children in the primary grades to be empathetic toward others. It is common observation by teachers that students at this level often do not realize that their action affect others. As you can see, some children, especially those children in the primary grades, they are more competitive. They don't want to lose. Ayaw nilang magpatalo. And also, they do not know what are the feelings of their playmates or what are the feelings of the others. So applying this design thinking in the classroom gives the children the opportunity to cultivate empathy and at the same time develop their problem-solving skills. Next, let's proceed to define. The next is for the students to define the specific problem or issue that they want to address. Clearly articulate the issue or problem you need to solve. So first, the students will identify an audience, the future users of the product they will develop. So their audience it can be student, teachers, family member, or just anyone in the community. Then the student will use the information they gathered from empathize stage and focus on one aspect of the problem. It is important that the students should be able to identify a true problem because it is impossible to successfully complete the design thinking process without a meaningful problem to solve. Next, we have here the ideate. The third stage of design thinking is the generation of ideas to solve the identified problem. We need to generate ideas, conduct research, brainstorm possible solution, and then develop solution. In this ideate, it involved brainstorming and research. So the students are to be encouraged to think out of the box and produce radical ideas. What set this stage apart from the usual brainstorming is that all ideas must be written or illustrated. Ideas are usually written or drawn on sticky notes, and students later on organize them into a mind map. In this stage, the student will be able to apply their mathematical knowledge and skills. So aside from being able to operate their problem-solving skills, they will also be able to apply specific content knowledge like measurement, proportion, geometry, and statistics. Next, we have here the prototype. In prototype, you need to design a prototype to test the solution. The students go through a repetitive cycle of prototyping and testing. So when we talk about prototype, it is anything that a user can interact with in order to later on provide feedback about it. So a prototype can be made of easily accessible material just like paper, cardboard, sticky tape, recycled plastic, and so on. So once a prototype is created, we will proceed to test. We will test it, or we allow user to test it and then make improvement or possibly overhaul the design depending on their observation and the feedback of the users. In this stage, it is important to emphasize that it is totally fine to fail at the first attempt of prototyping. So the trial and error aspect of the design thinking process is glorified because it is believed that the student learn a lot through their failures. So even though a physical product is the expected output of design thinking, it should be emphasized that going through the process is what more important because it is where the learning take place, as just like the John Dewey said, learning by doing. The student learn by doing those activities. In summary, design thinking is a contemporary teaching strategy that fosters creativity by allowing students to come up with concrete and tangible solutions to authentic problems that the students themselves identify. That's all, sweeties. See you in the next video.